Okay, I think I've got this live. I believe we are live. I have this set up to do jerky. We've got everything we should need. I've got some food, or I've got some meat. I've got some beer. I've got our Walton's 12-inch slicer. I've got our tenderizer. And I've got a Marinade Express tumbler. Those are the things that we're going to be using to make this jerky today. We asked you guys what you wanted to see us make. You said jerky. We're obviously not going to be able to completely cook it, finish it, dehydrate it. We're going to use that dehydrator right over there tomorrow to get it up to temperature. One of the things we like about our dehydrator is that it gets up to 190 degrees as a max. So it will fully cook your jerky and then dehydrate it. I'm going to keep this at this angle for just a little bit so you guys can see all the slicing. With jerky, I usually go with eye of the round. The best, in my opinion, to make jerky with. It's got very little intramuscular fat, but I did also pick up a flank steak. We're going to do that as well. Flank steak's good for jerky, even though it has a higher fat content, intramuscular fat. So intramuscular fat just means when you cut it in half, you can see kind of all the marbling through the meat, right? The fat is into the muscle. Eye of the round has some fat, but that's right on the top. We just trim that right off. That's super easy. So we're going to make dill pickle jerky tonight. And for jerky, fairly simple. The only things that we need are our jerky seasoning and a little bit of Sure-Cure. Now, I know there are some people out there that will argue that you don't actually need cure when you're making jerky because we're going to get the water activity so low. I've said it a million times, but probably my best response to that is just simply you wear your seatbelt when you go drive to your neighbor's house too, and most of you do. There's no reason not to add it, right? Sure-Cure, sodium nitrite, whatever you want to call it. The only time it's ever been shown to be a carcinogen is when we use it at parts greater than what's restricted for jerky, for bacon, for all that stuff. And then you you make it crispy, super, super crispy. So if you like your crispy bacon, that's totally fine. The amount of ingoing nitrates to that has been carefully monitored. It's 200 parts per million for making it one way, and it's 120 parts per million for making it another way. So your bacon's perfectly fine, although I don't know why you'd want it crispy like that. I like my bacon like straight, but not crispy. Like I don't want it to flop over, but I also don't want it to go when I bite into it. But we will get going. I've got my meat right here. Slicer's already been fully, what's the word I'm looking for? Sanitized. We use our Maximum hard surface sanitizer. Then we're gonna run it through our tenderizer unit. Now this comes with jerky slicing blades and a tenderizer unit. Well, technically it just comes with the tenderizing blades, but you can buy jerky slicing blades with it as well. I'm not using it on that because I have this. Then we're going to use the Marinade Express tumbler. So what this is designed to do is we're going to put all of our meat, our water, our seasoning, our cure in there. We're then going to pull a vacuum out of that little canister, and then we're going to rotate it. So that's going to do a couple of things. One, the vacuum does somewhat pull the muscle fibers apart, but that's minimal. It's really not that much. What it's doing is it's preventing your solution from foaming up and not letting any of it get into the meat. So by pulling a vacuum in there, there's less air for it to react with and foam up. So we get a nice stable solution and it can penetrate that meat easily. Using this is going to make that much easier. And I'll show you an up close of what a piece of what's going to be jerky looks like before it goes through there and after it goes through there. Basically, it pokes a bunch of little holes in it, tenderizes the meat, makes it easier for the solution to fully penetrate the meat. Now, because we have a vacuum tumbler, we don't actually need to hold it overnight. Normally, if you're making jerky at home and you don't have a vacuum tumbler, which most people do not, I would say go through the slicing, go through the tenderization, put it in some sort of low air container. A vacuum bag is the best, but a lot of people do it in just a Tupperware. And add just enough water so all of your meat is covered by that solution, and then leave it in there for 12, 24, 30, hours. Some people do. You just want that to pick up as much of the seasoning, the salt, and the cure as possible. Now, when we get to a cooking cycle, jerky is supposed to be a food safe or a shelf stable product, right? We're going to do that by lowering the water activity down really, really low. We're also adding salt, a lot of salt. That is going to help fight microorganisms. Those two things generally are enough to make something food safe. However, we do still want to cook it up to 160 degrees first. It's all started 10, 15 years ago, where there was an outbreak of, I think it was listeria, with some commercial jerky. It was really localized, small problem, but a lot of USDA people got worked up about it. So there are now all of these regulations you have to make commercial jerky. One of those is getting it cooked up past Appendix A, which in our case, for what we're going to talk about today, we're just going to say it's 160 degrees. There's all sorts of different rules to it, but that's fine. But yeah, let's go ahead. I've got my slicer set here to just around 1/4 of an inch. I'll let you see what that looks like once I slice it. I've got my meat. It's been in the freezer for about 4 hours. I took it out about going on 30 minutes ago when I got here. So first, we're going to look at this. This is our eye of the round. You can see it's got very little intramuscular fat outside of this vein right here. We've trimmed most of the fat off the outside, and we're just going to slice it up. One of the things that you'll never see me do is put my hand anywhere up near the blade while that thing is running. That blade is sharp enough to cut yourself while it's not moving. When it's moving, you can take a good portion of a finger off. That is very, very sharp, and it moves very fast, so be very careful with it. So this is the thickness. That's kind of hard to see, isn't it? That is the thickness we're going for. We're actually going to make it just a tiny bit thicker than that, just a little bit. And we can do that because we've got our tenderizer coming, and that's going to help keep that out of there. I'm going to have to move this up just a little bit, but that's going to make it want to sing. There we go. What I'm trying to prevent happening is if I let that keep building up back there, eventually I'm going to get a pile here, and the back of this blade will actually grab it and slice it or sling it around. One of the things that we talk about when we're talking about using a retail slicer is something called tailing. Now this is frozen, but it's not frozen solid anymore. And you get this little tail at the end. The best way to prevent that is simply every 4 or 5 slice, pick up your jerky or pick up your meat block, turn it around, and continue. I don't know if you could see that, but a little something came flying off the back there. And it's about to do it there. If anyone saw my pepperoni video the other day, it was pretty funny. I had everything super thin, and it was just landing there perfectly. It was almost, whatever the kids call it, ASMR. When we get down to the very end here, can you see this? Here, I'll tilt you. I can't actually grab that with this because this has a protection where it's not going to let you push down where it would come in contact with the blade. So this piece is too thin to cut. So we're just going to have one slightly thicker piece of jerky. I will grab all this, throw it into my other lug, and we continue. I'm going to toss on another glove here and just pull those as they come. And we're done with that piece. We've got a little almost butterfly piece there. We're still gonna rip that in half. And I should have just about 6 pounds here. The dill pickle jerky takes 0.6 of an ounce of seasoning per pound of meat. So we should be at 3.6 ounces. I've got our little Escali precision scale here. That'll measure out that no problem. And then we're gonna add 15% of the product's weight in water. Now we're doing that because we're using a vacuum tumbler. If we didn't use a vacuum tumbler, I would not use that. That machine is called Emo Wrist Slicer 3000. Who is that? That is, I assume that's a version of Pickle Rick. And yeah, if you caught your wrist or hand in this, I mean, you're losing a good chunk of that finger. This stuff is, or these things are extremely sharp. Never to be fooled around with. I think most of you know at this point that I have some difficulties with occasionally cutting myself with knives, so I take this one very seriously. Now, on the back of this right here, not only does it have points here, but it also has these points here. So I can grab the meat there if I want. Sometimes I do that with thinner slices like this, because if I try and push down, there's a chance that this is going to become unstable. So we're going to try it one way first. If it doesn't work, we'll switch it up. See what that looks like. Yep. And see, that is the flank steak, and it makes really good sized and shaped jerky. I know that doesn't matter a ton, but it does matter a little bit, right? Like the size of your jerky. A, it really is going to dehydrate a little bit better, and B, it's just easier to eat. Like, I love this type of jerky. This is the vast majority of what I make. But if we're just looking at it, which one of those would you say looks more like jerky, right? It's this one. We'll pause for a quick beer drink. All right. That intramuscular fat is going to give us a different texture and a slightly different flavor to our jerky, but it won't be, a huge thing. I've made brisket jerky before, and I really liked it, but it didn't taste like what I think of jerky as tasting like. It tasted very good, but it was kind of almost something else. And we've just got one more piece back here to do, and then we'll get on to running the tenderizer. Now, this is the tenderizer with a motor. We also sell the tenderizer without the motor, so you can do a hand crank, or we sell something that hooks up to your Walton's grinder. I just had this readily available, so I figured I'd use this. We are getting ready to move. So there is a bunch of stuff that's just kind of around somewhere, but starting to get packed up. So, and one other thing about jerky, I like to cut across the grain. All the muscles are going to have, all the meat's going to have muscle fibers going in a specific direction. I like to cut across it. I've seen more and more people recently going with the grain. I still don't think I've ever made that, but it seems to be becoming a little bit more popular. Now, this thing Has not been turned on in quite some time. I probably should have done that before to verify that it's still working, but I'm sure it is. I'll try and get that somewhat centered. I'll show you the back. Just a low power, high power, and a reverse button. Fairly simple. But if you make a lot of jerky, or if you like to do cube steaks, this is a great thing to use for cube steaks. We're not going to bother putting the flank steak stuff down there, but here's what it looks like before. We're going to turn this on. And here's what it looks like after. So we've got little holes, not really poked in it, but kind of run down through it. If we pulled this apart a lot, it would look like a poorly knitted sweater. But we're just gonna run all these through. Now, you absolutely never ever want to put your hands down near these blades. Once this grabs something, it is over. You're not stopping it. I learned that the hard way with a set of tongs. I tried to push something down in there. Those blades grabbed those tongs, and I didn't have a shot at stopping it. This is about 7 years ago. Now here's something interesting. The thicker the piece is, the more the holes become apparent. This is an end piece that we couldn't get all the way through the slicer. And you can see how that's just a little bit more apparent. That's the high speed. If you're doing a lot, put it down like that. But we're just doing small amounts, so we'll run it through slowly. But the tenderizer is a great way to make a tough cut of meat pretty tender. And this I absolutely wouldn't consider essential for making jerky at all. It's just something I use because we have it. Nope, wrong one. That piece went down weird. Let's take a look at that. Nope, nothing bad happened. I am back on my Miller Lite kick. I drank too many Dos Equis in the last couple of weeks. I wanted to switch it up a little bit. Plus, I found out Dos Equis incredibly light or low in alcohol. I think it's like 4.1 or something. This is a pretty thick piece. Let's see how it does. Still chewed through it, no problem. All right. So we will reweigh all of this just to make sure I still have 6 pounds. And I do. Got exactly 6 pounds. So we're going to weigh out 3.6 ounces of the dill pickle jerky seasoning. Now, dill pickle is actually a jerky or a snack stick seasoning. It's formulated for both. For the most part, there really aren't, off the top of my head, any snack stick seasonings that I could think of that I'd tell somebody not to use jerky for, or not to use for jerky. They are different though. And this one's interesting because it sort of acts differently in the different products. With the snack stick, nobody would say this is hot. It's not a hot snack stick at all. In jerky, especially whole muscle jerky, it does have a little bit of kick to it, and you'll see why in a second here. I'll hold this up and try and show you. And it's got that good, strong pickle smell. So Pickle Rick, you'll enjoy that. It's got large red pepper flakes, and a lot of them. All right, so We also have to add our Sure-Cure, and we are going to use the calculator for that. Where's the calculator on this phone? Sorry, I'm streaming from my phone today. So we have 1 divided by 25 times 6. So we have 0.24 of an ounce. And again, this is the Ascali Precision Scale, so it can handle this no problem whatsoever. There we go. All right, now we just got to weigh out our water. And go a little bit above. Okay, so we've got our seasoning, we've got our water, we've got our meat. Now, actually, maybe I'll just bring this over here instead. Yeah, it's probably better. You should. I was hitting darts before. Amazing. Hit like bullseyes left and right. I was waiting for this to begin, so I was just passing some time, and it went awesome. All right. We are going to put these into the Marinade Express tumbler, and just for fun, I'm going to put all of the flank steak on one side. I'm going to put the eye of the round on the other side. Here's a good question. At what point of having a beard should I be wearing a hairnet with this? At some point, it's got to be. I know when I watch somebody like the Bearded Butchers, they're always wearing beard nets, beard nets. This might be too much to put all of it on one side. It really might be. So we're going to put most of it on one side. And the rest will go on the other. And technically, we are slightly overloading this. Shouldn't be quite that full. These things in here should not have pulled that out, but I was able to get it back down. They call these the flavor ribs. What a name. Basically, all it's doing is, as this is going to rotate, it allows it to be pulled up and then slide. That's way too fast. But slide down and hit the other side. When it's this full, that motion is going to be somewhat muted because it's just going to run into the rest of the jerky, but it's agitating it. I mean, it's a lot like what's going on in a washing machine. We're just trying to get some mechanical energy on this meat. That mechanical energy will separate the fibers or the muscle fibers of this meat far more than that vacuum will. So if we just did a vacuum and held it here, that would not be anywhere near as effective as the vacuum and some agitation together. And I'm going to do something I don't actually do a whole ton, but we're going to mix up our solution before we put it in there. I just don't want some of this meat to get trapped, or some of this seasoning to get trapped down in between that meat and then not make it all the way around. For anybody who's a fan of our podcast, you'll be interested to know, we talked about it at the very end of last podcast because we forgot it. We're the number 3 meat processing podcast in the country. Above us was a cattle ranching podcast, which, let's be honest, shouldn't really count. And I can't remember what the other one is. If Allie's still watching, she might remember. But yep, they DM'd us on Instagram, I think, to let us know that. So pretty cool. We appreciate you guys paying attention, listening, watching, however you consume it. Please share that. Let other people know. The bigger the podcast grows, the more we can do. I think the one that we're recording on Wednesday, actually, I know the one that we're recording on Wednesday is going to be the last one that we're recording in this studio. So this is going away. We are moving to a brand new facility that has a lovely kitchen that Allie, Brett, myself, Austin designed, and we're looking forward to it. There'll be a new look to the podcast. Still just Austin and I and Allie when she's available, and Patrick for color. But it's going to be, I think, it's a cooler set for sure. All right, so on the top of this, we have locked and unlocked. I don't think I need to explain what those are to you. In the back of the Marinade Express tumbler, we have two cords. We've got our power cord, and we have the cord that is going to pull out as much of the air as we can from this. So we're going to turn it on, and we are going to go. We're going to go for poultry. Where is beef? I know it's here somewhere. Can I just not read it? Oh, steaks. There we go. And I think it's that one. Yep. So right now, what's happening, and you'll start to see a little bit of it on a larger commercial style machine. You'd see it a ton, but we'll actually start seeing some air. Just getting this as low as I can for you. We'll actually start seeing some air get pulled out of the liquid at the bottom. Comes up through, and again, that is really all it's doing, is making it so then when we agitate it, the solution won't just foam up and make it impossible for any of it to really penetrate the meat. I think part of the reason everybody loves jerky so much is that it's so easy to just have around all the time. Like, I almost always have some jerky. Now, recently, admittedly, I've become overly obsessed with dry cured products, specifically things like dry cured pepperoni, salami, because we've been using our dry cured cabinets, but it's empty right now, which makes me very, very sad, to be honest. But there you go. That makes me happy. A red bullseye. We will hopefully be bringing something like that over to the live streams in the new studio, where we can still do the fun, somebody wins a gift card, and then Austin and I throw a dart, and we multiply that, whatever we hit, by $5, and that's the size of the gift card they get. So this is going to take somewhere around 5 to 10 minutes. This is very full, so it should be a little bit less. The more volume we're taking up with product, the less volume less air that has to pull out of there, basically. Blake Day says, I've watched your stuff for years. Great job. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. I've been making Instagram stories to promote these recently and find out that I'm enjoying that. I like being able to say like little quick things and then get out there. A little bit of me goes a long way sometimes. Ali said whatever the kids call it. I made some reference to something that I'm not hip enough to understand. Yeah, well, that's what happens when you get old. I mean, look at all that gray in this beard. Tilt it back down. So, if anyone's making jerky at home and doesn't have a tumbler, like I said, add just enough water so that you can cover the meat just barely. The more water that we add to this product, the longer it's going to take to dehydrate. So the less amount, to a certain degree, that we get it to pick up, the better. However, that's a double-edged sword. Also, the more of the solution it picks up, the better flavor we're going to have. And depending on what's in the ingredients, the more tender it will be. I don't need these gloves anymore. We haven't in a while. We used to make this product all the time. We called it tender jerky. Dylan, who's one of the owners of the company, got his degree in food science. And he and I were trying a bunch of different jerky things. This is like 5 years ago. And we could never get our jerky as tender as they could. We have a great commercial smokehouse that can control humidity, fans, all that stuff. So we couldn't figure out why we couldn't do it as well. And then he's the one who figured it out. All of them add a ridiculous amount of sugar to their jerky. Now what sugar does is binds up any water in a meat product, so that makes it unavailable for microbial growth. However, that water is still in there. It's just bound to the sugar, so mold can't grow on it. No other microorganisms can grow on it. So it makes it very, very nice and tender and still perfectly shelf stable. The problem is, it takes a relatively healthy snack like jerky and makes it into something else. Like our tender jerky, we were adding 18% the product's weight in sugar and 20% in water. So in a 25-pound batch, whatever 18% is, I mean, that's almost 5 pounds of sugar. That's a lot. And it's brown sugar is what we would normally add. It does also tend to make it a little, not tend to, it makes it a little bit stickier, which I don't absolutely love. We tried a bunch of things with different smoke schedules, and we figured out some things that helped with that. But in the end, if you're adding a bunch of sugar and water to something, it's gonna be sticky. So we are still going over here. I'm sure that's terribly exciting to watch. I did paint part of my house this weekend. We can move this here or there and watch the paint dry, if that's more exciting for you. You can see at the top of this, we've got a bunch of bubbles. So that is water that's just been pulled up. I don't want to move this canister, but I do want you to see something. So I'm going to take it off the stand. Sorry about that. We've got and it stopped. We've got a little air pocket right down there at the bottom. So it just goes to show you, we threw meat in, put a water solution in there, but still it hasn't gotten everywhere. If we weren't going to tumble and agitate this, we would have a section of it that's completely unseasoned, uncured, and that would be a bad thing. Okay, here's where we're going to lock this. Am I going the wrong way? I am. So that we can remove that. If we did not lock that first, a lot of our air would escape, and relatively quickly. This has textured the canister has textured strips here and here. That's to allow these wheels to grab it and turn. Now, this is pretty heavy for this, so hopefully this is going to work well. Nope. What do I do? There. There we go. So as we're watching that, we can see meat's coming up, getting pushed down. We're actually going to just give it a quick hand and get some of that stuff off the bottom. And those flavor ribs in there are preventing everything from just rolling around and staying at the bottom, right? So this rib is coming down. It's picking this meat up off the bottom, pulling it up, and forcing it back down the side. Those pieces pushing into, rubbing up against each other is a good way to help get that to pick up absolutely everything. Now, when I'm done with this, because it's a vacuum tumbler, I could just put this whole canister in the fridge, but A, that's not what you guys would do, and B, we can get a little bit better of a product by vacuum sealing it. So we will make sure that we show you that as well. And we're going to use our quote-unquote new Walton's chambered vacuum sealer. So I don't know that most of you have seen this thing in action yet. It's pretty, I can't think of the right word for it. It's pretty awesome. Yeah, I mean, these tumblers, we used to sell a ton of them. It's from a I can't remember the name of the company, but it's not Marinade Express. They lost a supplier for some component of it. It wasn't even the whole thing. And we couldn't get any for legitimately at least 18 months, maybe longer. We finally got them back in stock late last year. And yeah, it's a great little home unit. It's good for, you can do chickens in it. It's too small for a ham, really, unless you're doing a small ham. Turkeys, it's too small for, but yeah, it's great for chickens. It's great for steaks. Great for any cut that you want to make sure picks up as much of your solution as possible. We've had this one the entire time I've been in this apartment, so that's 7 or 8 years now. And it gets a decent amount of use. The one we kind of normally use, I'll take you on a quick walk here. This is the advantage of doing this from a cell phone. The one we normally use is called a KMV, and that is a more commercial version of it. I don't know that we carry them anymore. I think there were some changes made on the unit, but we have one of the old units, and I'm sure you guys are familiar with this. Yep, there it is. So this is a KMV vacuum tumbler. You can tell right away, one of the big differences, the flavor ribs, or whatever we would call on this unit, are much smaller. So it's just grabbing some, brings it up, and thunk. There's much more mechanical impact on this one. It also has heavier duty wheels and a very strong air pump. So it pulls out a ton of the air. Since we're in here, that is a Hall, I think 120 mixer grinder. So what this does is it's got mixing paddles in here, and you can mix and block off the auger, or if you just want to grind, you can take pork butts that are like cut basically in half, throw them down there, those paddles will grab them, push them right down there, and it's a 52 head. So it's a pretty darn good grinder. This is what a lot of our commercial customers have. Oop, that got dark. All right. And we've got 5.5 minutes left on this. After that, we are going to put them into some good-sized vacuum bags, and we'll check out the new Walton's vacuum sealer. It's a chambered sealer, definitely more in line with a commercial piece of equipment. It has an oil pump. Oil pumps, air pumps, they both have their advantages. An air pump is going to be maintenance-free for life. An oil pump will last, I don't know, longer probably. It'll stand up to heavier use, but you do have to change that oil every so often, and that can be somewhat of a pain depending on your mechanical competency. But you can see that water that was at the bottom, I mean, that's basically gone, right? It wasn't much water to begin with, but it was, it ended up being just around 12%. I'm okay at math. I'm not great at it. I'm okay at it. I think it was like between 12 and 15%. The product's weight I added in water. So, but you can see all these red pepper flakes. So this seasoning does have a kick to it when we're talking about the jerky form. I don't understand why that is completely missing from the snack stick, but it is. Well, I do know why, but in case you don't know why, in a jerky seasoning, especially when we're using it the same strength as the snack stick seasoning, we are going to start off with 6 pounds here. But we're going to end up, after everything's cooked and dehydrated, with somewhere around 3. So all of that seasoning is going to get concentrated. And part of that is the heat. There's also less moisture in it, so that heat's going to be more prominent. But it's a very, very good jerky seasoning. I don't know if I'm supposed to mention this or not, but we shortly will have a Walton's, and it is our branded peppery au jus jerky that is, I mean, it is knock your socks off good. I cannot wait till that gets in. So hopefully that'll be in here in the next couple of weeks, months. There's a lot going on here. This move over to the new building is going to be quite the change. What is it? Allie's asking, how long will the tumbler run? We've got 2 minutes and 40 something seconds left. I believe that steaks are a 10-minute cycle. So, I mean, it says steaks and lamb chops. Obviously, this is the closest we could get. If I was doing it in that commercial tumbler, I would add more water, plus I'd have all that sugar in there because we'd be making the tender jerky. So I'd need it to pick up a lot more efficiently, or not efficiently, fully. So I would run that somewhere near an hour. I'm gonna grab a few more vac bags because that's more volume than I thought it was at first. I will be very interested to see what the flavor difference is between the flank steak and the eye of the round. That fat in there changes, I mean, fat is flavor, but when we start dehydrating it, it really does change the flavor of it. People who've been with us for a long time know that for a long while, I was obsessed with taking just regular bacon, like bacon you would buy at the store, putting seasoning on it and putting it in the dehydrator. I loved that. My two favorites were cinnamon toast, which is an awesome seasoning for anything that you can think of that you want to have like a little bit of sweetness to it. I wouldn't put it on a steak. It might be good, but I wouldn't do that. But then the other one was salt and vinegar wing shake. I loved that seasoning from Excalibur. Everybody else hated it in here when I did it. But there was something with the vinegar and the dehydrating that if you put a really fatty piece of bacon in your mouth, it would almost like pop. It was awesome. Loved that seasoning. All right, so we've got 50 more seconds to go. Make sure our vacuum sealer is on. Yep. Glove back up. James, there are a bunch of secrets to great jerky. And personally, I think one of the most important ones is meat selection, seasoning selection, and then how you're going to handle cooking it. I've had so much jerky that is just dry, brittle, you twist, you touch it and it snaps. I really do think humidity plays a big role in being able to make great jerky. You don't have to have humidity through the whole thing. I won't. But making sure that your meat starts off with enough moisture in it to give yourself some humidity is key. All right. So I'm going to move this or change it from lock to unlock, and you should hear all the air escaping. It's the other way, John. So that's just, there's a ball valve in there. It's just releasing and letting us take the top off. Pull our flavor ribs out and start putting them in bags. With anything like this, I like to fold the very top of the bag over. That's just going to make sure that we don't get too much seasoning down, or seasoning, moisture, whatever, down near the very opening of the bag, because that's what I'm going to use to seal. And I don't want to get a bad seal on this. So we'll just try to use as few bags as we can, but we also don't want to overfill these bags. If you're at home and you don't have a tenderizer or a vacuum tumbler, something you can do, which I have done before, is put all your meat in a vacuum bag, and then every so often, every couple of hours, come in and massage it right through the bag. Just massage the meat. That will help the muscle fibers loosen up, and you'll get a better pickup and a more tender jerky. Now, is that reasonable? No, not really. It's just something we were doing when we were trying to experiment with, hey, how could we make more tender jerky without all of the accoutrements? So again, I started out with 6 pounds here. I'd be thrilled if I ended with 3.5 pounds. When you do make tender jerky, you get much better final yield. That jerky that sugar keeps so much of the water in it that it really increases your final yield. I'm just gonna take some out of that first bag, put it into this last bag so everything can be fairly even. Okay. I'll get you. Hopefully this will get tall enough. It might not actually, now that I think about it. Yeah. Okay. Hopefully I'm not making anyone seasick with all this rocking. Okay. Pull this up and down. Okay. So this is the Waltons. I think this one's called a 2200. It is, like I said before, oil pump based, and we are gonna flatten as much of this out as we can reasonably. Bag goes in, make sure we're on the right program. Where's program? There. Yep, P3 is the one I want, 45 seconds. Nope, P2 is the one I want. So it's got an emergency stop button. We'll just cycle back around to P2. So right now you're seeing what amount of air is being pulled out. It's going to shoot right up near the top fairly quickly. And then as we get down to the bottom, it's obviously going to take longer for it to pull any more air out because there's not much air left in there. Fun experiment you can do if you want to see what's actually happening in there is take a marshmallow, put it in there, and run a cycle. That marshmallow will get huge. Is the new compact vac chamber oil? No. So I assume you mean this. I'll show you in a second. I assume you're talking about this one. No, that is an air pump. But we've got a bag that's extremely well sealed. Very, very little air left in there. So get the next bag in there. Is there anything else you guys want to see while I have the phone and can walk around and am unsupervised? Tomorrow we're gonna do some stuff with a rabbit. I'm also gonna show people how to do some maintenance on their electric sausage stuffers. Yeah, I'm having trouble. Robert Hicks, yeah. I mean, so no, it shouldn't be tender, quote unquote. But if you get like a bag of some of, inexpensive jerky, it's like Jack Link's. It's shelf stable, and it bends extremely well. So that's what we were trying to do. We've backed down and down and down on the sugar, but at anything below 10%, you're not really getting a benefit from it. So I will probably leave this just overnight and get it into the dehydrator tomorrow. I will run a hot cycle on it for about 30 minutes. Jerky's cut so thin that it cooks, gets up to temperature incredibly fast, so I'm not too concerned about that. And then we'll just let it dehydrate at a lower temperature with a fan going on it until we've reached our desired level of dryness. We do have a water activity meter. So the water activity meter that we have, basically you put your product in a little cup, very thin slice of it. It blows air on it, and it has a mirror above that with incredibly sensitive sensors on it. and it determines how much moisture is coming out of that product. Now, when we do things like the tender jerky, even though that's super tender, moist, whatever you want to say, that water can't dehydrate up or evaporate up off because it's bound to that sugar. So that's what's going to keep it in there. No, I'm not going into Austin's room. No, yeah, I should have said within reason. We shot something Allie and I did the other day where we just took the phone and walked through the building from the warehouse, through a couple of the offices, and then back through the shipping department. And then we'll film the exact same thing in the new building to show you guys what the differences are. But I think you're going to, well, I don't know how much it's going to affect your life. It's going to affect my life a lot, but I think it's going to be awesome. The office setup I love. It's an open office concept, which is my bread and butter. I love it when people are out and talking to each other and forming relationships in the company. That is, that's part of what makes a successful company. We also have a test kitchen that is twice the size of that one, and hopefully a better utilized space for our studio. It's about the same size, but I think we've done a much better job planning it out. And most importantly, we're going to have a dishwashing machine, which I am super pumped about. Even though we have an intern now who helps with dishes, I still end up doing a lot of the dishwashing. Part of that's weirdly is a control thing. I don't like somebody else cleaning the meat processing equipment I'm going to use. But I need the patty. I see the patty maker attachment on the shelf. Any idea when they'll be back in stock? Very soon. They should have been back in stock already. I believe we will have them in a week or so. So yeah, shortly. Yeah, new building. Once we're in there and we have everything set up, we will do some form of open house where anybody in the area who wants to come check it out can. It's on a cool lot. I mean, we're very excited about it. It's huge too. The shipping department alone might be the same square footage as this whole building. It is enormous. And they took advantage there to upgrade some technology. So picking orders should be faster, simpler, and we'll be able to stock more stuff, which hopefully means, we buy in bulk from our suppliers. The more we can buy, the lower we can get prices, the lower we can pass those on. Okay. Well, tomorrow at some point, I will get that in the dehydrator. Then I'll post some stuff to Meatgistics about how this turned out. But we are talking about doing this and calling them processing streams again once or twice a month. So it'd be every other Monday. So we wouldn't do one next Monday, but then we would do one the following. Problem with that is next one might be weird because my department is moving on Friday. So the next month, not this Friday, next Friday. So that would be the Monday after. I don't know if we're quite going to be there yet where we can do something, but maybe I'll just go in and do a live stream and walk around and show everybody the new building. I'm sure that would be at least as interesting as seeing me make jerky, snack sticks, or whatever for, the 50th time. All right. I appreciate it, guys. And hey, Mike, if you come to Wichita, you got a place to stay. You just got to be approved by Brutus. Sometimes you have a better chance of him liking you because you're a guy. Only dog I've ever met that likes men more than women across the board. Like, it is not even close. Somebody has a 100% chance or 100 times better chance of him liking them. Geez. If it's a guy, he is super sexist. Does not like the ladies. What can we do? How do you start out? Can you share your story of how you got where you are now? From a company standpoint, we've got somebody else would be better doing that. It really comes down to Brett's father was in the plate and knife sharpening business. They then had the opportunity to acquire another company. We used to be called Midwestern Research and Supply. Brett came on board full time and started making a real go at it. It's fun to listen to some of the old stories. And on our podcast, we have a couple episodes where we had Brett and our second longest tenured employee, Kurt Carter, on, and they just told old Walton stories. It was pretty great. I think it's called, go to our YouTube channel and look up history. It should come up there. But they tell some awesome stories and kind of explain how we got to from where we are to where we are now. Yes. No, everybody tells me that, Mike. Everyone's like, no, don't worry about it. Dogs love me. If Allie's still watching, she thinks dogs love her. My dog did not love her. He tried to bite her. So he's a bit of a jerk, but I love him. For whoever it was, what was the name? For Jeffrey, if you're asking me personally, I looked into this. I took a job here as just a customer service agent. I was very excited when I left my interview. I remember even calling my now ex-wife saying like, hey, I don't care what the pay is necessarily. I'm like, I want to be here. I just got a great feeling from the company. Worked hard in customer service for a couple of years. And then Austin gave me this opportunity, pulled me into his office one day and was like, hey, how would you feel about helping me make YouTube videos, teaching people how to make meat? And from there, it's just been, that's it. Brett is fun to listen to. He is an awesome dude. Very, very much. One of the nice things about working for a small family company is you know the people you're working for. And I am sure it would come as a surprise to none of you that I'm a big fan of the Waltons. I've even been there for Thanksgiving. Not Christmas yet. We're not there yet. But hopefully we're going to get there. All right, guys, I appreciate it. Hopefully I'll see you 2 weeks from today. If not, we'll keep you updated, let you know when we're going to do it, but we won't wait too much longer. I like this one, or I like doing these from the test kitchen or studio kitchen because it allows us to get more into like the sausage stuff. The ones I do from home are fun as well. Like I love cooking and I like having a camera on me and talking to you guys, but it's a little bit more fun when we can make jerky instead of like egg bites or what do we do? Stromboli. The strombolis were so good though. I ate all of those. I must weigh 5 pounds more just because of those strombolis. Yeah, I know, Mike. I'm very much aware of how much luck has played into all this. But so has a positive attitude and being weird. Just be a little bit strange. People seem to like it for some reason. Don't know why. But I appreciate it, guys. We'll see you next time. Wait, no. I'm going to throw 2 darts. Just 2. You can see that one was in the red. Maybe 4 because I need to warm up just a little bit. I was throwing at 20s. All right, now I'm throwing at bullseyes. Yep, or 18s. Ah, that was close. All right, we'll see you guys.